Are you someone who resists doing presentations because the topic that you talk about in your business has a lot of data, a lot of information, all those sorts of things? Are you challenged by making hard information, complex information, interesting and relatable to the audience? If that is you, you are absolutely going to love our topic today. My name is Suzanne Hart. Welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. And our topic today is why storytelling can make stats, graphics, and the complicated interesting. This conversation is especially for you if you are a financial advisor, maybe an accountant, someone whose profession tends to be data heavy or information heavy. This conversation is for you if you are someone who works in the intangible and you want to make that relatable to someone. This is going to be especially for you if you just want to make your presentation just more relatable and understandable by your audience and create more engagement. So welcome, welcome, welcome. As you jump on, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Please let us know who you are and where exactly you're joining us from. Also, let us know who you are called to serve, what you do, and who are those people that are your divine client. As you jump on, also let us know what brought you out tonight. And if there is a burning question that you want me to ask my guest, put Q, question, and then put that question in the comment section, and we will scroll through and do our best to get to it. If you're listening to the replay, hashtag replay, and then also, first of all, thank you for joining. And also put your name in the comment section, who you are, what you do while you're living, and who you're called to serve. You might be asking, Suzanne, why do we do that? I'm listening to a replay. Because this is your opportunity to do the virtual networking. This is where people read the comments, they look at what people are doing, and you never know that the person who's looking for you might be watching this video, and they'll reach out to you and want to learn more about what you do. So the more interesting your comments are, the more engaging your comments are, the more likely someone's going to be stopped and they want to find out more. The final thing I'm going to ask everyone to do is to bless a life. What that means is share this video to your page. Share it in a group you belong to. Just tap a friend on the shoulder and say, I watched this video, you have got to watch it. And as we're getting started, if the topic inspires you and you're thinking of someone, tap them on the shoulder, tag them and say, hey, you want to join us right now for this live. Okay, so let us get the conversation started. My name is Suzanne Hart. Welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. My topic today is why storytelling can make stats and graphics and the complicated extremely interesting. This is a conversation designed to help you make your presentations engaging and interesting, particularly if you have a lot of graphs, statistics, and complicated concepts that you want to make relatable. Now, let me tell you about my guest. This woman is the co-author of Dear Fear book series. That's who she is. She has 30 years experience in the Global Financial Institute at one of the global financial institutes. And her passion is to provide financial education, right? And it was developed through her own personal experience. She's developed 5 financial pillars and principles to help her clients really understand their financial and the financial opportunities that are available to them. So she is truly an educator. She's married for many years, mother of 2, and she has 7 grandchildren. This is her pride and joy. But what really inspires me about this particular guest is that she has a desire to help us create a legacy within our family. So what we're talking about is changing the financial blueprint of not only yourself, but of your children, your broader community, those you love. This is so key given the times that we're living in. So please help me welcome the president and co-founder of Deliciously Rich, Monica Boyd. I can just get her in, invite her into the room. Hey, Monica, how are you?
Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
I am fantastic. Welcome. I'm so excited to be sitting down with you.
It's great to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, my pleasure. So before we jump in, I just want to situate, everyone who's watching and let them know a little bit more about you. So financial industry for many years. What was a personal experience that made financial education so key for you?
That's funny you ask that, and people ask that all the time. It really has been over a number of years. I was in the financial industry for over 36 years. And during that time, what I realized was, and it's the same with most people, you pick up information as you go, as your career goes along. And what I realized was, and not until my friends started asking me questions about finance and investing and that sort of thing. And in my mind, and I'm a pretty straightforward person, so I know I told a few, what are you asking me for? Ask your broker. But then it occurred to me, there must be something missing. So the broker is either not explaining to the level that the client can understand, or the client does not know what questions to ask. Either way, there's a disconnect. And that, along with my natural passion to teach, sort of came together in this idea and this firestorm. Maybe I can do this on a bigger level rather than just a friend here and a friend there and a friend here. And so it was. I started I started a company because there were so many people asking those questions. I just felt like I had a duty to explain it in a way that people understood.
So
And what I did,
you're big on education.
definitely big on education, definitely big on that, because I feel like once the people, once a person has the information that they need, that puts them in a position to make an informed decision. I can give you all the information out there, but I can't make that ultimate decision for you. You have to make the decision that's best for you.
I got it. That really speaks to me because I remember having a financial advisor who basically wouldn't take the time to answer my questions. And all this individual wanted to do was to tell me where to put my money. I wanted to understand why I was putting my money, but more importantly, Monica, I wanted a plan. I wanted a plan for my financial future. I wanted a plan where I'm very A plus B equals C. Give me the A plus B equals C that I can implement over a number of years to get me where I wanted to go. And no matter who I spoke to, all they wanted to do was sell me stuff, have me invest in stuff. And it felt like it was more about them than it was about me. Then I met the woman, the financial advisor I have worked with for a number of years. And it's been like over 10 years. And I remember sitting down with her and saying, I'm interested in two things. I'm interested in a planned strategy to get me to retire where I feel financially independent and I feel like I'm in control of my destiny. I said, I'm a coachable person, so tell me what I need to do. And I want to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And she asked me a bunch of questions. And I remember she went away and she came back with a plan. It was a 15-year plan. And she said, this is what you need to do. And she told me I needed to grow this to this amount. I needed to grow this to this amount. She suggested that I invest in real estate. She suggested I do this. She was actually the one who encouraged me to start another business as another stream of it. She said, start your retirement business. And so we built out this strategy, but she was interested in educating me. And that was the winning thing. So I so get what you're talking about. Do you think that is it often language and numbers and all that stuff that's not user friendly to the end consumer?
All of those numbers, it's like candy for me. I love the numbers. But the average person, that means nothing to them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've learned to do, which is one of the things that I am certain makes me unique, is really a lot of what you just described. I have to take what could be a very boring subject, a very difficult to hear conversation, and turn it into something that my client feels comfortable listening to, but they can also have the vision. They can also see where I'm trying to get them to. So I don't immediately talk about money and how much do you have and try and get them into investments. I am interested in learning about the person. Definitely interested in learning about the person. And so you can't do that with a bunch of numbers. You have to make it relatable. It's kind of like school when they say you need to learn algebra. And as a student, you say, well, when am I ever going to use this?
Yeah.
It's hard for me. I don't understand this. I can tell you with the right teacher, algebra is a breeze.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it makes what you're saying makes so much sense. So you recently completed our Unleash the Power of Your Story, and you went into freestyle. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are thinking, well, you're a financial advisor, you're not a speaker, and you particularly were very interested in the storytelling aspect of it. Why was that something, given what you're doing, why was that so key for you?
I think that was key, and that's a great question. I think that was key. I know it was key because what it does is it takes, like I said, a very difficult concept and breaks it down to something relatable. So just as an example, we hear this a lot. When you are going to retire, you hear it a lot. You can expect to live on less income. I disagree with that. I disagree wholeheartedly. It's my personal opinion. But the reason I say that is because once you retire, I ask my clients this: do you spend more money during the weekday or do you spend more money on the weekends? Weekdays you're at work, weekends you're at home, you're running errands. And of course, people say on the weekends. Okay. So think about this. In retirement, every day is like a Saturday. You're going to lunch, you're having lunch with friends, you go to the movies, you travel, you're spending time with your grandchildren. It's money, money, money being spent. How that equates to less, I'm not sure where that started. It's nice in theory, but it doesn't work in real life. And who wants to work all their life and then do nothing because they want to just hang on to this money? So yes, it's that kind of a story kind of hits home. And the whole purpose for that is for them to start thinking about, how will I really live in retirement? How do I really want to live in retirement? You can absolutely build around what it is that you want to do, but you have to do it with a realistic lens. You can't do it by a storybook.
And I love it, because what you did was you took a theory, right? You're going to retire and live on less, and you went, well, let's test the theory, and you pulled it right into their life using a short story or a question that evokes a story or a picture in their head. Right. I love it. And that's really what has us relate to things. So, part of when I thought of doing this talk, and I thought I built this particular interview with you in mind. I thought, it's interesting because whenever I go to certain presentations and it's in certain professions, I experience, I like to call it death by PowerPoint. I experience being put to sleep or overwhelmed by PowerPoint. And it is a lot of data, a lot of information, graphs, numbers, charts, this, that. And I literally, watch me get lost, confused, or put to sleep. And I also watch it happen in the room. And so one of the things, we've been talking about is a Zen presentation. Talk a little bit about why that is so key, given your belief around how people learn, particularly in industries like accounting, financial planning, or other industries where there's complex things that need to be transferred over to someone.
Sure, absolutely. The term, the Zen presentation, is absolutely key. So by definition, the Zen presentation is one where less is more.
Mm.
And so instead of bombarding people with all of this information that they're either scribbling, trying to make sure they capture it, or if they're listening, they're trying to make sure they remember it. Either way, it's a big ask. So what I have found is that it's much better to just kind of feed people a big concept, but in little pieces, something they can digest and make it real for them. So you don't really need a whole lot. You just need to ask the right questions, say the right things to bring them to the point where they're thinking, oh, I didn't think about that before. And you don't need a whole lot to do that. And the
Mm-hmm.
story that I just shared with you is a good example.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the things that you know really is really cool about this kind of concept is that it's using pictures, analogies, and stories to situate someone in a new perspective, if you will, or to get them to understand a perspective. And it's really learning that it's actually not the data that does so. The data is what supports it later. But really, in a presentation, what you want someone is to grasp a concept, right? And so it really is, what are the stories and analogies that present that concept to someone. And so I know for you, one of the things that you're in the middle of and looking at is building a game, a party, where people get to learn one concept, but learn about how they think about finances through activities and storytelling. Why did you take that approach?
The reason I took that approach is because, first of all, most people don't like to talk about money. It can
Mm.
be very scary. It can be very intimidating, in some cases depressing. And so by putting it into a format, in my case, a game, where it teaches it'll teach a very important concept where people can take that information and then go off and do something about it and change their situation, change their trajectory. But it's also an environment or a situation where it's easily shared among the children or the grandchildren.
Mm.
Most of us don't learn money from our parents, and that's huge. And so where we learn it, it's bits and pieces. But it is absolutely my desire to teach it to a point where, as a woman, I can learn it. I can teach it to my children. I can teach it to my grandchildren and create generational wealth. But if I don't teach them, they're never going to know.
Right, right. And you know, it's interesting because when what got me interested in finances and got me to look deeper was truly the stories of individuals who had these, I want to say, rags to riches stories, this upside down to right side up. Um, uh, you know, they turn their life around. And as you're talking, what I'm realizing is that it wasn't, you know, they went and invested in this and they went and invested in that and they bought this and they bought that got my attention. It was the fact that they, one, had a shift in how they were thinking, and that they started to do things differently. They started to look at things differently. And it was the journey of people that I could relate to that made me go, oh, I need to now dig into this. I needed to now learn this. So if you talk to me about a single mom who's went from, paycheck to paycheck to, becoming, using your term, deliciously rich and wealthy, that got my attention. When you talk about, do you tell me the story of someone who wants to retire, however, they're not able to because blah, 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 blah. And then you break down why, that gets my attention. So you're absolutely right. It's not the data. It's the continuous stories and situations that get my attention.
It really is. And anytime you learn something, I totally believe this. You have to make it relatable, and it has to be, well, why do I care? If I can get you to understand why you should care, we're off to a great start.
And so what is the trick to getting to me to go to why do I care?
One of the biggest tricks, one of the biggest things that has to happen is a shift in thinking. Because if people don't have a reason to think differently, most of us won't. Something usually pushes us in a different direction. It's just kind of the way mankind is wired. If it's comfortable, if it's safe, I'm good. I'm just going to stay right here.
Yeah.
That's how most are wired.
Yeah.
People that are very successful, they intentionally reach for more.
Yeah.
The majority of the people, they're simply comfortable where they are, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not trying to make people do something or be something they don't want to be. But if they want to do more or be more, or they have these dreams, then we can certainly connect and see how we make that happen.
So it's the shift. And I know for myself, again, I'm going to go back and, we're talking about why stories work and why stories do this and why analogies work. It is, I know for myself, is when I listen to someone, and but through listening to their situation, their journey, I see something for myself that I didn't see before, or I saw something in myself that I didn't know before, or they demonstrated something that I didn't think was possible for someone like me. And suddenly I've been exposed to new information and I'm inspired. I've been exposed to new information that I'm like, ooh, me too. I can do that too. And so that's why those analogies work so well. I want to jump into a moment in terms of why less is more. And I really want to talk through less in terms of language and less in terms of language. and the reason I say this is one is giving people less information, but two is giving people less jargon. And so one of the things I know I've seen with you, even when we're working together and we're talking through, the depth of your program, is you never use a lot of industry jargon. Why is that?
That's a good question. And the main reason is because it's confusing and it's intimidating. People don't have a clue what you're talking about unless they're in the industry, or unless they're in the industry, or unless they have personal experience with their personal finances. I'll give you an example. One of the money concepts that is very important is something we call future value of money. People understand what that is. They don't necessarily know how to calculate it, but what it basically means is I make a decision today. If I spend that money today, it takes away an opportunity to spend more money, that money grows, and in the future I'm able to do more with it, I lose that opportunity, you know? So what is the dollar worth today? And I don't mean the US dollar, I just mean the money, the pot of money that you have. What is it worth today versus what it could be worth in the future? And then that people understand.
Yeah.
If I spend what I have today, I won't have some dollars later. I remember one of my early mentors in this area. He said, "There's not going to be any dollars ahead except for the ones that you send ahead." That I understood.
There you go.
It was simple language, very simple language, and that's where you have to stay with people, is simple language. And I am adamant about this. If I explain something to you and you don't understand, it is okay to say to me, "I didn't get that. That went over my head." So now what I have to do as the teacher is come back, break that down again in a language that you do understand.
Right.
And we have to keep at it until you understand it.
And you know, this is such a great thing because, and for everyone listening, we're talking about how storytelling and concepts and analogies are often way more effective than the data, the graphs, all these things that people use, and the complex concepts that people use when they're presenting. And so, you know, I know for myself that I remind myself all the time that as soon as I use industry jargon, no matter what industry I'm in, people go into either they're lost or they're trying to figure out what that jargon means. And the minute they're trying to figure it out, they're no longer listening to me. I remind myself of that all the time. So if I'm in front of the room and as soon as I drop a piece of jargon, they're no longer. So a great example is, you know, most people know I come from a network marketing background. And whenever I would train team members to go present, they'd be like, okay, so I'm going to talk about my downline, my sideline, I said, are you playing a sport? What are you talking about? And they'd be like, well, I'm talking to them about how our business structure works. I said, and then they're drawing circles and squares and this and that. And I'm like, I am so lost and I'm in the industry. And I always remind them, talk about it in a language that is user-friendly. So I go, so go talk. So you're excited about it. Who would you like to share this with? That person becomes a part of your team. And together you grow a bigger team. That is really what you're saying. And I go, people don't understand these things. And so part of it is really about making the language user-friendly through stories and words that people can use. And I think that's one of the biggest things when I watch presenters and I sit through presentations is I often get lost because someone's dropped some piece, an acronym or a big word, and no one but them and the people who do what they do understand, but they're trying to get clients, and clients are not the people that do what you do. So I want everyone listening to understand that. So if that landed for you, put landed in the comment section. So we're talking less is more, is less of your company jargon, less of your industry jargon, and less information. So talk a little bit about, you know, why what you have taken away as you've been really in, like, just jumping into story and looking at it for your business and your game that you're developing.
First of all, I didn't realize before your program how big story was to the success of the business. I really didn't. And I think, but I know, because my story is personal. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to share that. That's private information. And most people that know me personally know that I'm a very private person. I have to come out of that if I'm going to walk in my calling and help other people, but that's a different story for a different day. But I didn't want to share my story. I wanted to keep that private. But what I didn't realize is that story, my stories, can help other people. There are other people in the same situation that I'm in, they're experiencing the same thing. If I don't share that I had that experience, that I overcame that experience, somebody might think they're in a situation that has no hope. That is not true. So just to give you an example, one of my stories is the fact that, I worked for corporate for 36 years and ended up being let go in that situation. Okay, so now that was not the right timing for me. I had a timing. I knew when I wanted to stop working, but somebody else made that decision for me. What am I going to do? I have to figure this out. There are plenty of people in that situation.
Yes.
But if I sit back and take the pity road, the oh, poor, pitiful me road, I'm not going to help myself. And I certainly won't be in a position to help anybody else. So those stories are important because it also allows me to find some common ground with my divine client. If I go to talk to somebody and I get the sense that, well, that person thinks they are so much better than me, they can't possibly relate to my problems, why would I do business with them? But if I'm talking to somebody that's had real life struggle and overcame them, okay, we talk same language. I can talk to you. So story is very, very important to the process, not only for the person telling the story, but also for the person who needs your help. Absolutely.
I love it. And it is such a key thing, particularly, and I really want to put this out there for everyone that's listening, particularly for professions where we tend to be guarded and we tend to not talk. So when it comes to money, no one talking. We barely talk to our own family, so we're not really talking to strangers. And when it comes to money, we're conditioned to look good, not tell the truth, but to look good. So I would imagine in a profession like yours, to get someone to feel comfortable to share their truth with you, the real deal, or to allow you to look at their situation and find out the truth, that in and of itself requires a level of trust, because it's a level of intimacy that most people aren't comfortable with. So are you finding that using story creates that intimacy where you get the disclosure?
Story is a major help in that, because again, it takes me off the pedestal. This is not about me. It takes me off the pedestal. It helps you see, it helps my divine client see my human side. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't have it made from day one. I hit some peaks and some valleys. I understand what you're talking about. I understand this piece of paper is not what you want it to be. I've been there. I know that. But what I can tell you is this isn't the end of the story. This isn't the end of the road.
I love it.
We can work, we can come up with a plan that will work for them. That will work. Absolutely will work for them. And it will take time. People have in their mind this, overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Like you said, your financial person gave you a 15-year plan. It takes time.
Yeah. And it really does. And I'll tell you what this also did for me, because she sat down and the thing was, she shared her journey with me when we sat down. And I was like, whoa, you have been through some stuff. and she shared like how they had accumulated their wealth and what they had done and so on and so forth. And I also have mentors that are in real estate, and and I chose them because they shared their story, and their story was like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Right? And so they gave me not only hope, but I trusted that they had strategies to overcome stuff. Now, this is the interesting thing. It made me more open to learning the data. It made me more open to understanding those graphs and charts and things that
Mhm.
I was before going, really? Uh, it made me want to understand it because I could see how if I got it, how now it would benefit me. So it wasn't the data that got me engaged. It was the story that had me go, okay, let's teach me now. I'll work to learn the data. I'll pay attention now. I'm ready to ask questions. And that's the real deal, right?
That is the real deal. And while you were talking, a word came to my mind that I think is very key to all of this, and that is the willingness on my part to be I can't even say the word vulnerable, but to be open and to be honest and to be willing to say it wasn't a perfect road for me,
Mm-hmm.
but it
Yeah.
turned out okay.
Yeah.
It turned out well, and it can be the same for you. And I think that is a lot more intriguing and engaging and more apt to create trust than seeing somebody that's flashing a lot of material things and say, hey, I got this wealth, let me show you how. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that the being vulnerable is really the key there.
I
It's
love it.
absolutely the key.
I love it. I love it. So, I'm excited to see when Deliciously Rich launches. I think gamifying is such a big thing right now. People learn through games. I know um, when my boys were at home, and I made everything a game. Math
Mhm.
was a game, everything, as much as I could, I made it a game. And I remember my my youngest coming home and going, "Can we play flashcards?" And people be like, "Your kid wants to do math." I go, "He thinks it's a game. Do not let him in that this is education." And it was like to beat me,
Mhm.
right? And so we would play like hours of flashcards, and I did multiplications that way. I did division. I did everything he needed to learn, like flashcards. And then I found different ways to make things games. And back then I was storytelling all the time, but I didn't really understand it. Now
Right.
I understand the power of it. And what I think really what I want to drive home for people is two things from what you said. One is, and someone may want to put this in the comment section, because when you tell a story, what you're saying to someone is that your present circumstances does not define you. You get to write the ending, right?
Exactly.
And people, when they hear stories and they hear turnaround stories, it's like, I want to write my own ending. That is huge. And I think that the second thing that I'm really hearing as you talk is that, as entrepreneurs, as advisors, as coaches and consultants, it is our job is to first inspire, right? Before we sell, before we make offers, before we go and teach the bulk of our content, is to inspire people and influence them so that they are open to change. They're and they see possibility for themselves. Thank you
And,
so much.
and that is key, that they get to see it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is key.
And that's when they say, I want that. I want that for me. I will walk with you. I want that for me. Everyone, I have been speaking with the founder and president of Deliciously Rich. I could say that all day long. Deliciously Rich, Monica Boyd. Monica, two things. I understand you have a gift for everyone. And also, where can people connect with you if they're like, ooh, I want to learn more about what this woman's talking about?
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity. So you can connect with me by going to the website, which is IAM, 3 letters, IAM-WB.com. And at the very bottom, there's a section that says connect with us. If you complete that form, we would definitely be getting back in contact with you. There are a couple of free items that I would like to give away. I always like to do that. And one of them, it's really just how to keep your money. Things that you can do right now didn't cost you anything. It's just a change in behavior. It's to bring awareness to you. These are some things that you can do to make your money situation better. And the second thing that I would like to give away to the first person that actually contacts me, I have a budgeting class that you can take on your own in the privacy of your home and at your own pace. And it comes with, and you would just download it. And it just comes with, it comes with a video and a download. And if you are the first person to reach out, then that course is yours. It's normally $139, but it would be yours for free.
Wow. Thank you so much. So we will definitely put your website in the comment sections. Everybody can be checking it out. We will also make available to you where you can go and get the free gifts for Monica. So there's two gifts on the table, and the first person to connect with her, nice gift. So and for those of you who are listening and you find what Monica's been talking about interesting, and you're like, this storytelling thing, they're talking about storytelling all month. Yes, we are, because we are doing our Magnetize and Monetize. We're launching our Unleash the Power of Your Story. And the starting place is to come and check out Magnetize and Monetize, the virtual stage. So we're definitely going to put the information in the comments section. The next one is on November 6th, so just a day or so away. You definitely want to get yourself registered, because the power of storytelling that Monica has been talking about was really driven home for her during this program, and it has totally shifted like how she's engaging people, and definitely want to make that available to you. So Magnetize and Monetize, the virtual stage, where it's in the description for this talk, and we'll also put it in the comment section. And love to see you in the room. Taria and I have a fabulous time, so definitely join us. Monica, last words to everyone that's listening.
Thank you for the opportunity. I was trying to figure out how I was going to squeeze this in, but what I'm saying now is to everybody who owns a business, is thinking about starting a business, and you want to grow that business. I remember one of my coaches said to me that I needed, as a business owner, I needed to learn how to speak. I didn't want to do it. I already told you I'm very private. I like staying in the background. I work really hard in the background. And so for me to go to the front was a challenge for me. But she connected me to Suzanne, who walked me through the process and showed me, demonstrated, showed me how, showed me why. Learning how to speak it can be done, even if you're afraid. So what I like about the program that Suzanne offers is it creates this environment where even if you're afraid to do it, you're safe to do it. And that is just huge to me. Not everybody creates a safe space where you can try out this new talent that you have to learn. But I would absolutely recommend that you check out Magnetize and Monetize program. The the programs that Suzanne offers, you'll be very shocked at from where you start to where you end up. I am living proof.
Thank you so much. We've been sitting down with the founder and president of Deliciously Rich, Monica Boyd. You have been joining us for Unstoppable Mindset. My name is Suzanne Hart. We are here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are not part of our Facebook community, Unstoppable Mindset for Super Achievers, and you are a super achiever, you definitely want to knock on the door and ask to join. We have similar conversations, continuous conversations about topics like this in the group. And we have different ways that you can connect and engage with us. You can join me on most social media platforms as Suzanne Hart or Suzanne.Hart. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So as we part, please remember, know you are brilliant, know you are special, and the world is waiting for you to put your unique gifts into the marketplace. Blessings, and we will see you next week. Monica, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.